quick overview of OBS, getting set up on OBS and navigating the interface, as well as understanding how to connect the stream key from Twitch to then stream your concert. Generally, this relates to the PDF, the artist guide, and so you just want to make sure you're mindful of the general tech notes to make sure that your stream runs as smoothly as possible. You want to make sure that you have somewhat of an okay Wi-Fi signal if you're broadcasting a lot of video, and then be cautious of using a live mic so that you don't get feedback. Everything else is pretty straightforward, but I'll navigate the interface so you can see it. So first you'll want to go to obsproject.com and download the version of OBS that works for your computer. Once you download that, you can basically open OBS, and this is what the interface looks like. So it's a little, it's very simple and very straightforward. However, there are a couple nuances that I think are important to know and how the buttons work. So to begin, scenes, as noted in the PDF, essentially function like different projects. So you can toggle between these different scenes that you make while you're broadcasting, or if you're doing different shows that require different sets of images, etc. Kind of briefly to show you here how I have it set up, here are a couple different scenes that I can just toggle through. So anything on this screen that appears while I'm playing or streaming is going to appear on the stream. So you'll set up a new scene, and I'm just going to name it channel test. And so channel test you'll see is over here. These are all your projects and scenes, and then sources is where you go and you press this plus sign to add anything. So you can add images, you can add video, you can add text, you can add window captures, which are essentially any window open on your computer, etc. And you can layer these, you can move them all over this broadcast screen. Very simply, we're going to set up a video capture device, which is the onboard camera. That's my webcam for my laptop. So I'm going to name it laptop, but if I've already set that up here, you can basically find it down below, and you can just add the one that you've already added to other scene projects. So as soon as I add this, you can see that I can now click on this video and move it around. It's pretty straightforward in that you can scale this easily to the full width of the screen, but also if you wanted to crop an image, crop in on the image, you can hold Option down and navigate to any of the corners, and then it allows you just to crop this image. So this is the basic setup for this, is putting your image here and then connecting your stream key by clicking on settings and going to stream, and then choosing Twitch and pasting in your stream key. So the venue will probably provide you with a stream key that goes directly to their Twitch page, but if you have your own Twitch page set up, you can find this stream key by going to twitch.tv, logging in, and then clicking on your channel and going to settings. In settings, on channels and video, you can get this stream key here. Basically copy it and then paste it into OBS. This is also how anyone else can then stream to your channel. You can also reset this whenever you want. So in OBS, you've pasted the stream key in, and you say OK, and then you have your video here. And then what you're going to want to do is basically set up your audio interface, which either has the onboard mic, and you can see if I click on or off of this, it mutes and unmutes it. I can also adjust the gain. You usually want to have this fairly loud without clipping out, but you do want this to kind of basically live pretty close to over here. This is just picking up my onboard versus picking up my interface. If you right click on the settings here, you can change the audio interface properties. I'm sorry, not right click, but just click on the widget. You can also change the interface to something else. If you wanted to add a new audio input source like or capture like an interface, you could come here and choose or type that in and press OK. It's going to show up here And now you can kind of see the two. So the issue with this is right now it's picking up my onboard mic and my interface. So if I was to stream this, you're going to get basically an echoing or a doubling of the audio, which is not good. So generally, this also kind of occurs on these different scenes. And so I'm really mindful that I'm always muting any channels on these other ones to avoid doubling up any audio if you do end up going to have multiple scenes, etc. So now I just want the clean audio interface, which I can also connect my instruments to, and this is going to be the audio in relation to the video broadcast. So now if I click this button, start streaming, it will automatically start streaming to my Twitch channel, which that stream key is attached to. So if it's on my channel, on my home page, instead of this holding image where it says offline, it would essentially switch immediately to live, and then you would be broadcasting. So to stop streaming, you just press stop streaming, which is the same button, which took me a little while to figure out that these are all sort of on-off switches. So it's not that intuitive, but I was looking for the button, and now I know. That's the basic premise of this simple setup. But if you wanted to be more complex and add text, add images, add other overlays or other videos to make your interface or your stream, fancy, you could click on this and then go through and check any one of these out. So image is basically going to be an image that you choose from your computer. So this can be, an overlay if you have a PNG. These are some that I've added before, or, let's say here is, maybe that is nothing. Let's say I have this overlay, and so this is basically a transparent PNG that I can then overlay on my screen. And the thing to note with this source section is that whatever's on the top, like the first in order of the list, is the top layer item. And so right now, this is essentially on top of the video. But if I brought this laptop to the top, whoops, now you'll see my video is over on top of this. So this is how you sort of create these complex layers of video and images. So if I wanted this now PNG to be on top, I would just drag this above, and then all the items would appear. I can also add a lot of different things. A fun one is like window capture. Let's say I wanted to DJ YouTube videos. Window capture is essentially capturing any window open on your computer. This can be a browser window, this can be Zoom, it can be anything. So window capture, let's say I do YouTube, and I have over here a YouTube page open, and so when I click on YouTube and I choose the window, I look for Google Chrome that's open and that video, and that essentially pulls it onto the screen here. So now I can scale that, I can put this in front or overlap it on the video, I can move it around, and then if I press play here, it's essentially going to start playing over here. So just be mindful that anything you do now on this window, that's the window capture, will show up. So if I click on, this next video, it's going to show up here. And I can essentially be moving this stuff live on the fly. And so as you're broadcasting, anything that changes on this screen will change on your broadcast screen while you're streaming. So it's a lot of fun. You can play with a combination of videos, etc., images, and just sort of deck out your screen. And the other thing you want to note is that with any of these items, you can also click on them and right-click, and then they also have filters, properties, etc. So you can sort of mess with all of the different effects and all these kinds of things. Let's say like we want to scroll. Maybe if you have scrolling text, I could then essentially scroll this window. I don't know why I would ever do this, but it's an option. It's fun for text. That's how you get that news ticker style feeling, but that's the basic premise of OBS. So pay attention to the audio channels, pay attention to your layers, and then press start streaming to start streaming, and then press stop to stop streaming. The other thing you want to note in the settings is that if you click on settings, there's some settings that we had put into the output and video, and this is not something that we're professionals on. It's just kind of like what we've found to be good baseline settings. I don't think that we're hyper trying to make a super high res video. I think it's more about just making the video run smoothly with varying amounts of internet Wi-Fi signal. So these are basically, you want to make sure that you adjust some of these a little bit lower than, I think the default's like 4,500. If you have really good internet, that'll be fine. But if not, it might make your video really choppy, especially if you're adding a ton of different videos on top of each other. Otherwise, I would just follow these settings as a default and then test them with your stream. Same thing with the video output. On the output under here, on the section of recording, you can choose where you'd want to capture recordings. If you did press the record button, which is this button right here, it would also then separately record whatever's on this stream and then save it to your desktop or wherever you've saved it. So that's pretty much it for OBS setup. Yeah, everything else is in the PDF.